Welcome to AH Spain Poco. Hey, Tanya.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good. How are
Good.
you?
It's all good. Today we're going to talk about chess, but tell us why we're talking about chess because this is very exciting and I did not know this.
So what happened this summer, right? I was walking around the city as one does, and I
As one
went into
does.
the yes, I went into the Mercat de Cologne, and there was a big statue there of a chess piece, and I was like, that's just a weird place. And then I looked at the sign and it said 550 anniversary. Valencia is the birthplace of modern chess, which I had no idea. So I had to go like home and go on the computer and go to Wikipedia and see, are they lying to me? And
I
it
was going
turns
to say,
out
you're like assuming that it's not true and you have to go double check it, which I love. And we want to teach everybody to double check everything you read anywhere, right?
exactly.
They put a lot of work into these displays, I'm assuming, so they can't be wrong.
They can't be wrong, but I have to double check everything. I think you've learned that about me enough
Yes.
by now.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. Everybody should.
So I thought that was very exciting. So I guess we could just go right in and tell people what we've learned about chess in Valencia.
Absolutely. But tell me quickly, did they have displays of like actual chess things or like what was other than a sign, was there anything else or did you just happen to see a sign?
Yeah, there was a big statue of a chess piece. I think it was the queen. I don't
Oh,
remember. I took a picture of it, so when I do the post for this episode, I'll use that picture.
perfect.
But
Perfect.
I think it was like the queen piece. I'm not sure. And then what was really nice is on the four sides of the statues. I mean, they had little placards on the bottom, and in four different languages, so you could walk around. And so they had
Nice.
one in English, so I got the what's what right in the
Right.
beginning. I didn't have to like Google translate an image to find out what they were talking about.
Right. And I mean, I have played chess. I'm not very good at it. I don't but I can play and I know how to play. So I've not read a lot about it to be honest. I think we've all seen the Queen's Gambit maybe. Like that's about the
Right.
extent of my extended knowledge of chess.
That's all my knowledge of chess.
There
And
you
so
go.
I've never played it. I don't know. I mean, we had chess boards when growing up, but we never used them. They were for
Right.
decoration,
And they're beautiful. So it's nice to have something like that around, but whether we all play it, not so good. So, but why Valencia? I think this was kind of the interesting part of it. Really, is I had no idea about this, and it is. It was a thriving Renaissance city and the crossroads in Mediterranean trade. So it makes sense that a lot of things were coming through here and getting
and
picked
during
up.
that time, yeah, and so 550 years ago, I still get amazed about the city, and I don't know about you about the history of it. Like it was, I think even it was a more important city 500 years ago than it is now. Like it was the crossroads, right?
It
This
really
was
was, yeah.
a huge port, and things were coming in and out and filtering through the rest of Europe, and so I think that was pretty
Right.
exciting stuff.
Absolutely. And I think it was, it makes sense that all the different cultures that were coming through, a lot of different elements were, I mean, we've seen this in the Poco a Pocos that we've talked about, food. So it
Right.
also makes sense that it applies to a lot of other things as well, like chess. Yeah, should we jump into the history of chess a little bit and then we'll come back to how
Yeah, I
Valencia
think
got involved in being such a hotspot for it?
I think that sounds good to me. I mean,
Let's
it's the
go. So
research we've prepared, so we
we
might as well
have
go.
and double checked, by the way, but still come at us if we got it wrong, which I'm sure there might be some things in here that are, but we're just gonna assume that we did our triple checking here. So, chess. The game of chess originates in India around the 6th century, and it's a game called chaturanga.
Which is not just a yoga pose. Just found that out right now.
I
So there
mean,
you go.
there's new information. This episode is full of new information, and that is a game that does still exist today, and you can play it online and everything. But it is now considered the ancient ancestor of modern chess, rather than a game that's really really widely played right now. And
Right.
and that game had a counselor instead of a queen, and the queen could only move one square diagonally, and then they had an elephant instead of a bishop. And I'm thinking I would like that game because I would love to play with little elephants.
Well, I bet I could find you a little chess set that's got zoo animals. That's all the
That's true.
pieces. So
I would be very inclined to play that if I had that chess board, I think.
from India, it had moved into the Arab and Persian world in around the 7th century, and it was a game called Shatranj. I believe. And it had different rules than what we have now. Again, the bishop was limited, the queen was weak. It was a slower game, which okay, because it seems so slow to me now. I mean, I don't play chess, but I know it's a slow game.
I can't
So
imagine it being slower, but I guess it depends on how well people are playing. I mean, if there was a very excellent player playing against me, it would be a 5 minute game probably, right? But you get two really good people together, or you're
right.
doing something else while you're playing. I guess it could be a very long game. But yeah, it got faster.
And so I guess that was played by the Sasanian Empire, and then it kind of was brought into Spain through the Andalus area, or Andalusia
Yeah.
as we know, in the like 10th century.
And that was, I mean, that was brought in via the Moors. So they
Right.
were that is how it got brought in to the Spanish area from the Persian Arab part of the world into the Spanish part of the world where we are now. So by the 15th century, the Europeans are experimenting with new rules, and this is where they've been playing this hodgepodge of this sort of game, this Indian and Arabic game that has come here, but they're now starting to kind of turn it into another game and try and make it faster and more exciting. So
Right.
now I still don't think it's exciting and fast. So I don't know that they succeeded in that necessarily, but we don't know what it was like before. So
Well, I can only imagine that if it's now being played throughout Europe and like they're making up their own rules, but they're all coming through Valencia. I could imagine one of these tavernas and people are playing chess and the Germans fighting with a Spaniard because they're playing by different rules. Maybe that was
right.
going on.
That's true. And I mean, anybody that's sort of, I think, gone to the parks and all this, I mean, it's a very popular game for people just to play in the afternoon. So, yes, I would imagine back then it was even more so. I mean, that was how people were spending their time if they were playing a game that was like that, because everybody kind of probably had all their own house rules, right? Was kind of how it
Right.
was. So now
Right.
we bring in why Valencia. So this is where Valencia gets very interested in Valencia, because here is where all the rules start to kind of come together for various
Right.
reasons.
So in the late 1400s or the late 15th century, as we had said before, it was a slower game. The rules weren't making sense, but there was three Valencian poets, and I am going to butcher these names, but they're dead now, so it's okay. They can't come and be mad at me.
Right.
Francesc de Castellevi, Bernat Fenollar, Narcisse Vignoles.
That's
Is
that's
that good?
amazing.
I thought
Absolutely, yeah.
I was kind of proud of myself. Wrote
You get a star. You get a star.
They wrote Sax d'Amor, which means chess of love. So it was kind of a poem that doubles as the record of new chess. So I guess in this story, they're also laying down the rules of chess, which I think is kind of cool.
Very
right?
interesting. We have not read this poem, but that is how we understand it. It wasn't, it was how people are kind of people chess movers, right? Moving around and using chess moves to have a love story, right? And I think
Right,
that's
yeah.
maybe we have to go read it at some point.
Well, I've only read it in the original Valencian, so it's hard
Of
to
course.
translate.
Excuse me. So in this time period, what happens is the queen starts to gain more power and is allowed to move in a number of squares. And this is symbolic because it's happening at the same time that Queen Isabella I of Castile, who was from 1474 to 1504, she was one of Europe's most powerful monarchs. We feel like this represents the power that she had in Europe at that time, and they were giving her kind of a gift of making her the center point of this game, I think.
Yeah, I think there's a little exaltation putting her on a pedestal, as it were, but bump, right?
Can't hurt. You gotta do that for your kings and queens, especially back then, I think.
Exactly.
So yeah. So and then also the bishops became more mobile in the game as well. So I think that. Yeah, and I think, was it not one of the things in the Mercat de Colón that you saw was a big queen piece?
Yeah, that's what.
And that would have been why. That was why they used
Right.
that piece versus any other piece on the board, because that is a symbol of the modernization of chess, I think.
Right, right. I would agree. I'm not going to fight you on that one.
You're so nice today. What's going on?
The weather's breaking here, kids. That's
Oh,
why.
that's true. It is, yeah. We are getting our sense of humor back a little.
A little bit. But yes, now that so in this they've kind of codified the rules, right? So now it's a faster, sharper game, kind of reflective of also how life is becoming. There's more technology coming, and the big technology being the printing press, which Valencia was one of the first cities to adopt it. So they kind of like this poem got printed, sent out, and everyone kind of, I'm assuming, just kind of took it as these are the rules, and Valencia had
Right.
the printing presses to send it out and say, here you go, right?
So also with the printing press, what was interesting is they also printed in 1495 a book which was the rules. It was the first chess treatise, and it was by Francesc Vicent, and I don't think we want to name it. It's the Libre dels Jocs Partits del Sach en Nombre de Cien. I don't know what language that 100 should be in, because I'm not quite sure what language it says. It's
I
probably
think that's
Valenciano.
Valenciano.
So,
Yeah.
so I'm
Ancient
not going to
Valenciano.
pretend that we know how to do any of that. But that was the name of this really concise named book. So this is really explains how Valencia became the center of how the old chess transforms into modern chess, which I think is very interesting. And it includes, just being at the center of all of the movement of people back and forth and games from different parts of the world and printing presses.
Right. And we'll do another episode, but there was also the center of like the silk trade going on here, so there was merchants coming back and forth at that time, and all of that. So it's like really exciting. But now it's the 550th anniversary. They love to party here. They love to celebrate.
They do. Yes.
So around the city, so I had found out that they have the ladies, they're called, all over in different places in the train station and in other parts of the city. So the people know this is to remind the citizens that this is all happening. And they have different like exhibitions, and I think they even have like master classes with other famous chess players.
Yeah.
And
I think that would have been really fun to participate, I'm sure, in some of those things if you can somehow figure out how these things are happening ahead of time, which is I found very hard to do here. But
exactly.
at least if you stumble upon them, you might end up in the middle of one, and you can still take advantage of some of the events that they do, because they really do a really good job of putting together sort of activities and things in relation to this type of festivity, I think, in Spain. So it's definitely worth taking advantage of.
I agree. And they probably even had some fireworks for this too. Who knows? I mean,
you wouldn't know. They could be for anything.
have no idea whatsoever.
Oh, I love it. I'm sure they did. Well, I'm really glad that you stumbled across that, because I would not have known, really.
And and it's one thing I'm going to end this episode with. That is the one thing. That is not the one thing. That is one thing I love about living here. You stumble upon these things that had no idea the history of the place you stand on, right?
I think that's one of the benefits of living somewhere that you didn't grow up, isn't it? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So that's all I know.
That's it. That's chess for you.
Adios.
Adios. Thank you for listening to AH Spain Poco. Since you love us so much, please do go on to our social media and follow us and like us and subscribe where you're listening, because it really does help us to grow and stick around and do what we are very much enjoying doing.
And, give us a shout out on the social medias. Give us a comment on what you would like to hear us talk about. I mean, we like to hear ourselves speak, but we do want to make this, informative for our listeners.
Absolutely, yeah. You can comment on one of our posts, or you can send us a message through our Spain Facebook page or Instagram. So we would love to hear from you.
Yes, we would. Till the next episode.
Bye.